What is going on, Panthers Nation? Carolina Dad here. Hey, folks, if you are tuned into the show, hit that subscribe button right now, folks. Greatly appreciated. I'm getting so close to 1,000 subscribers. Can't thank you guys enough. But hey, folks, here we are with a continued discussion, post-draft analysis of the Carolina Panthers picks. And I'm really bummed about what happened with my recording. So over the weekend, I recorded a recap of everything on day 3. So all the picks 4 through 7th round, everything that happened. I went back, I pulled film from each one of these guys, watched their film, and when I went back to actually record, for whatever reason, the way I recorded it is I actually had me talking, but then underneath it, you could hear the audio from the highlights, and it just didn't mesh up. So I thought I'd come back on here because I did promise you got to see a little bit from Xavier Legette, Jonathan Brooks, and Trevin Wallace. I spent time breaking down the other 4 guys on, the initial episode, but I was like, you know what? I need to give these guys a little more time. We're also going to look at an article from the Carolina Panthers, Panthers.com, to shed a little bit more light. Interesting facts about these guys. But I wanted to go back and start fresh with having this draft class in general, where things stand. How did the Panthers do? And I wanted to take a look really at these day 3 picks, because when you can hit on day 3 picks, that's when things work really well. Now, one of the nice things about the Carolina Panthers, Matt Miller put together for ESPN.com, his top 100 steals. I can't remember exactly how it was worded, but top 100 for the NFL draft. The Panthers had 4 on that list. I think a few things are happening with the grades that you're going to see. Some people see Legette as an unpolished, unproven receiver who really had success in 1 year at South Carolina, but man, was that great success. But we've seen the year-over-year progression that he's made. And it may not be big steps, whether it was him returning kicks or getting involved in special teams. I got to listen to the voice of South Carolina on Mac and Bone talk through just what it was like watching him, seeing him in practice, that development that happened for Legette, and how he was really able to take a step up. He was that number 1 weapon, and the plays that he made were NFL caliber plays. Just the way he high points the ball, goes up and gets it. So I'm excited about him, and I know I'm covering the later round guys, but I was like, you know what, it's fresh on my mind. And the conversation around Brooks, you have a lot of people knocking the Panthers for drafting the best running back in the class, whether it's because we have other needs and they said, well, you should have drafted a center, or you should have drafted an edge or a cornerback, whatever the reason being, or the valuation of the running back position. The Panthers got the best running back in the class, hands down. You had the Dallas Cowboys sitting there hoping, praying that he would fall, that Brooks would fall. And now you have Ezekiel Elliott, who's probably washed up as you could be, now going back to Dallas because Dallas did not get their guy. I think Panthers had some rumblings. I know some people say, well, why did we trade up for XL? Did we really think Buffalo was going to get him? Like all those varying things. And we've talked about the 5th-year option and the benefit of all that. But hey, I'm excited about those picks because those are 2 playmakers. I don't know. We're hearing that Brooks will be available for training camp. I'm not holding my breath. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if he was like week 2, 3 guy that finally makes his debut. I don't want to rush it at all. Let this guy come back fully healthy. He's only 20 years old, and let's see what he can do. And then you have Trevin Wallace. And after watching Trevin Wallace and his highlights, he is really a across the field linebacker, a lot of talent getting to the ball, driving the guy down. Like, he is just all over the field. And I know there were some sexier names there with the Peyton Wilson, with Cedric Gray. Panthers decided to pass up earlier. If they'd wanted to get a linebacker very early in the draft, they could have done so, but missed out on a few. And so this is the result. And they get the guy that they've been scouting, and you have to put your faith in Dan Morgan, who was a linebacker, known for drafting or being a part of organizations that draft linebackers really well, that he understands it. So very happy with those first 3 selections. Now, getting deeper into the final 4, starting with Saunders, man, absolute steal to have the second best tight end. I mean, behind Brock Bowers, you're talking about the best tight end in this draft goes in the first round. Next best tight end doesn't go until now. And Saunders is that pass catching tight end. So when you think about the roster and the dynamics that we have, I know some people will probably devalue it because, well, he can't block as well, or he can't do this as well, or he's a little bit smaller and he doesn't do great being in the line or close to the line of scrimmage, like having to get engaged. I think that's okay. Like we've seen the shift in the college game, we've seen the shift in the NFL game. Like I think having that pass catching tight end and then also having complementary tight ends, other style tight ends to go with that, which you know, Canales wants that Swiss Army knife. I think this is your guy, a guy that can go down the seam, that can make some plays, that can make catches and run. Like all this is about being able to catch the ball and run, catch the ball and run. Like all those things matter. And that is what Saunders is going to bring to this team. That dynamic we've been missing. We've been missing it since Greg Olson was gone. Having a tight end, and I'm not saying he has to hit 1,000 yards, 500 yards, just 400. Being in the range of 300 to 400 yards for a rookie, I'd love to get 500, but being in that range and just knowing that he's going to grow and develop alongside Bryce Young as a rookie, extremely important for this offense and for the franchise, just building it out. I mean, three of your first four picks were guys to make Bryce Young better, to give Bryce Young a chance to succeed, and that's exactly what happened. So I think this is a fantastic pick. I think you still have, I know I've done kind of my depth chart, Tommy Tremble at 1 right now. I think Saunders will be battling for 1, just depends on the blocking side of things, but you got him and Ian Thomas right behind there as well. Next up, we have Shaw Smith, and sorry for mispronouncing it as Chow Smith in the beginning, but Shaw, great pickup. Went back and watched his highlights. Not a lot to see there at Washington State. Where he really shined was the Senior Bowl. Going back and watching some of the tape, he had the 2 interceptions, had the one that he almost returned for a touchdown. I posted some of those highlights on there. A little bit smaller cornerback that likely will fit into nickel. And he's later. Again, he wasn't earlier. And I know a lot of folks, again, wanted a cornerback earlier, but I got to believe that Ejiro and Dan and this staff, has this idea in mind that they feel comfortable. They feel comfortable with the cornerback room that's in place. And you look for Shaw to contribute, whether it is, again, you're starting to get into these later round picks on special teams, nickel packages, especially if someone goes down, which you never want to see, but hoping that he just progresses and grows. And that what we saw in the Senior Bowl is something that translates into the NFL. And like, oh, this guy can do this every single play. He can line up on the inside or cover a slot receiver, lock him down, or play really solid defense and grow and mature at the cornerback position. Crumity up next out of Mississippi State. Big old boy. Whole bunch of snaps, not a ton of pressure, not a ton of sacks, but you know what? I like a guy that's played the position, that's played on the interior defensive line. He's moved around to a few spots, being able to come in as a 6th-round pick and jump into the rotation. That's all you need. You need a rotational guy. We need depth on the defensive line, and he's a piece of that will help this team. I'm looking forward to it. Last on the list, you have Michael Barrett. And my gosh, I talked a little bit about him in bits and pieces. I turn on his tape. First thing I see is a fake punt return. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. A linebacker that can, go up and run the ball a little bit, right? But then you start seeing highlights of him returning kicks. And I'm like, hold up, did I have the right guy? Is this the right tape? Am I looking at the right person? Sure enough, it was. I mean, this guy is out there returning kicks, looking like a running back. Like that's how fluid in his ability to move and get out. I don't know many linebackers. Like I don't think you're going to have Luke Kuechly. Luke Kuechly's amazing, but I don't know if you're going to have him back there returning kicks. That's how fluid he is if you go back and watch him. Undersized, so it's hard to imagine him like stacking up inside the box at middle. I don't know what the package is going to be for him, but absolutely on special teams, this guy is going to be competing. He was a steal. I think just the athleticism that he has playing at Michigan, everything that they've accomplished there. And just looking at, go back and watch some of his tape, man. This dude is a baller. And for us to get him at in the seventh round, late in the seventh round, when a lot of people had him teetering at like 200 or a little before. So to get him as late as we did and to have the potential for him to compete out of the gate, it's fantastic for the Carolina Panthers. Now let's jump over and look at a few, if I can do this, interesting facts. One more thing about each of these guys. Not only is Mullins native one of the most explosive receivers in the draft class. Oh, sorry. Let me do that. In a high school football, basketball, and gosh, I can't talk. He's been riding horses ever since he was a little boy. Yeah, that is one of the big things that he talked about in his draft. Jonathan Brooks is coming off a November ACL tear, expects to be ready by training camp. He is a lineage of Texas backs that have drawn inspiration from Jamal Charles or Campbell, most recently Bijan Robinson. Brooks was able to play with Robinson, spending his first 2 years behind him. Brooks spent the time soaking up as much as he could. I think that's kind of how he models his game. Trevin Wallace made a reputation at Kentucky as a finisher, someone who wasn't scared to drive someone in the ground. It's a work ethic that was born from his shifts at the Golden Arches. Yeah, he started working at McDonald's, making his path. Of course, he went and played in college, but getting up at 5 in the morning. I mean, that dude is a freaking grinder. Jadavian Saunders is going to bring some competition to the basketball court with Bryce Young, it sounds like. New beginning at the Senior Bowl. Yeah, I mean, exactly what I just talked about with the Senior Bowl kind of revival for Shaw Smith and what we saw there, especially at the nickel position. And Jaden Crumdy was the recipient of a COVID year and redshirt year at Mississippi State. He played 6 years in Starkville, got his undergraduate and graduate. Good for him. And Michael Barrett, again, national champion, biggest example. So much his fellow teammates voted him the toughest player on the team. Hey, I agree with that. Dude is freaking rock solid, takes some heads off. Anyways, folks, that is all for your kind of post-draft analysis for that second group of guys. Really excited to see them get to work. Rookie mini camp dates have been set May 10th through the 12th. So let's get it going, folks. It's Carolina Dad. Y'all have a good one.